Hi everyone, we're back with another amazing video in our extraordinary Everyday Woman series. We started this on International Women's Day in March and has been so popular that we've been asked to do more and to share some extraordinary women with you. So I'm delighted today to introduce you to Sinem Erdemli. I met Sinem only this year, and she's just another one of these incredible women in tech. And the combination of all of her experiences, that she is, what she's going to share with you, I think this is going to be very, very special. So Sinem, welcome, and please share with everyone a little bit about you and what you do.
Thank you. Thanks, Harriet. I'm super excited to be here and having this chance to share my story. I'm Sinem. I'm a designer based in London. Currently, I'm in Istanbul with my family, hiding away from the coronavirus. Not sure how well that's going, given it's made its way here. But I'm a designer and I work at a digital consultancy called Red Badger. We're based in London, Old Street, and we work with large organizations and help them build digital products and deliver them in large scale. And what my role as a designer is to bring the human element into technology, which is not necessarily the first thing that people think about. So that's my role in our teams. And I also teach design. I'm a design lecturer at General Assembly, where I work with amazing career changers who are pretty brave in getting to upskill themselves and even go for a complete career change. So I'm grateful enough to have the opportunity to share my experiences with them.
Fantastic. Design is such an important part of the world in which we live today, and that convergence of design and tech, and being in one of my most favorite cities in the whole world. I envy you in Istanbul. So tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you've experienced in them, and how you've gone about addressing those challenges.
Yeah, so coming up with, thinking about a challenge was a challenge in itself for me, because there are quite a few to talk about, which would take really long just to unpack it, really. But what came out as a thread throughout my reflection was the emotion of fear and how I deal with it personally, and how I bring that to my life and my experiences and inevitably my work. And it has different ways that it shows itself in fear of change, fear of failure, which is a big one, and fear of not being enough or not being good enough. And I'm quite a introspective and quiet person when you meet me. I think that was our experience when we first met as well. When I'm in a new situation, I kind of freeze and I'm like, okay, let me think about this and get used to it first, think it through. But in fearful and new situations, that may mean I get stuck in my head. And especially in a consulting world, that comes across as you being disengaged and lack the confidence and maybe perhaps lack the competence to be there. And I'm quite young usually compared in the settings that we we find ourselves in with senior stakeholders. And that definitely has been that breaking that first, I'm going to sit quiet in my shell before I think it through and break out of it, has been something that has challenged me throughout the years and still does.
Wow, that is so open and articulate of you. And what are some of the sort of ways in which you've dealt with the challenges? What are some of the sort of Sinem top tips for others and things that you use yourself very, very regularly?
Yeah, top tips. I think finding people to bounce ideas off. Like I've got great mentors. I'm really lucky to have their support in just giving me honest feedback. And I think being open with your team and bringing that, I guess, element of being open for feedback, saying, hey, you froze up a little, or you could have done this better, and just having that kind of platform where you can talk about how to grow is a big thing. The second one that I think worked for me pretty well is to put myself in positions where I'm not expected to be great, because oftentimes I find that blocks me from taking action. So starting a new skill, starting something new. I had recently started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before COVID meant we couldn't hug strangers. And yeah, that's like that experience, going on the mat with super experienced people and just being like a white belt, knowing that you're going to get beaten up, I think. And being comfortable with that and saying, hey, like, this is all I've got. I'm here to learn. And I'm open to just like try it. Those two have been the biggest ones, and of course reading about the psychology of it all has helped as well.
What marvelous tips. Obviously the mentorship is one that we've talked about before, but I don't think anyone has ever described putting yourself in that white belt situation. I hope you never get hurt, but what amazing if people extrapolate that, for their own advice. I think that's wonderful. And you've done many, many things, as you shared in your introduction, and the first time you and I talked in some detail. And I know there's a lot of things that you're very proud of, and I hope you'll pick one or two to share with people today to demonstrate that even with those fears that imbue us all at certain times, there's a huge amount that one can achieve.
Yeah, this part was the awkward one, I think, out of the three topics. Don't necessarily spend much time celebrating. I think that's a learning and a top tip as well, just to go back to the previous point. I think being in a teaching position, not necessarily teaching because I learn as much as I share, but having the chance to do that and see people step into really uncomfortable places where they don't necessarily know the skills. Just as an adult, going back to the classroom, like a classroom setting, I think is quite a brave thing, and I'm pretty proud to be part of that. And yeah, I come from a engineering background, and ending here in a position where I can say I'm a creative person, and I do that as part of my job is quite a proud moment for me.
Yeah. Creativity and engineering, women in tech, teaching. These are all amazing things. And thank you for sharing them, you will inspire many women from around the world with your openness and your articulacy. So as always, I learn from listening to you, and I thank you for sharing these inputs with hopefully the many thousands of people that are enjoying this series of really extraordinary women. So thank you, Sinem.
Thank you. Thanks, Harriet.